Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria Air Force says many insurgents killed in airstrikes near Sambisa Forest as army intercepts and burns vehicles conveying smoked fish belonging to the terrorists on the outskirts of Maiduguri in Borno State. Flood ravages communities in 5 local government areas in Adamawa State following a day's heavy downpour. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka cautions against clampdown on protesters by government authorities, says action is an infringement on the rights of Nigerians to freedom of expression. And world leaders arrive in France for the G7 summit amid tension over several global issues, including the trade war between the United States and China. For more information on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of all our shows. Now, the creation of a new ministry by the current government to respond to emergencies is already generating reactions. Now, many Nigerians expect that the new Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs will change the narrative that comes with slow response to aid and emergency issues. Before now, only the agencies such as the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, National Refugees Commission and other response agencies handled emergency issues across the country. In our next report, we examine the new face of emergency management in Nigeria.
Nigerians have suffered from one form of emergency situation or the other. The ever-changing climate has submerged houses and displaced many. Also, terrorist activities in some parts of Nigeria have inflicted pain and kept emergency management workers on their toes. Whether it is natural or man-made disaster, victims do not often get prompt responses from supposedly trained emergency workers. Some emergency managers believe, however, that the creation of the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry by President Buhari would help in changing the narrative.
It is something that we've been waiting for. There would be now a proper coordination of all related humanitarian services in the country. There was no representation whatsoever at the Federal Executive Council meetings where decisions are taken. Now there is going to be proper representation. There will be regular interaction with the Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Management Services in the country, and therefore a lot of activities will be discussed and a lot of challenges are going to be solved.
According to available statistics, there were 541,000 persons displaced across Nigeria in 2018 alone. 200,000 of that number are displaced from flooding, fire outbreaks and attacks by armed groups. The remaining 341,000 displaced persons are as a result of attacks by Boko Haram in the northeast. By the end of 2018, an estimated 2.2 million people are already displaced across Nigeria. Reason why some citizens describe the creation of Humanitarian Affairs Ministry as very necessary.
NEMA is overwhelmed by the volume of disaster that we have found ourselves involved in. So we need to the need to create a full ministry to handle this, and also and work out ways to impact the people that are affected. Is a welcome development.
The infrastructure.
Experts are, however, waiting eagerly to see how the new ministry will improve disaster management in the country.
We are hoping that this ministry will help to make us more proactive rather than just reactionary as the different disasters happen. And we are hoping that we will see more mechanisms in terms of early warning systems on ground that will facilitate and enhance the response, especially with regards to infrastructure.
In the face of increasing emergency situations needing huge humanitarian interventions, disaster managers believe that the creation of the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry is a crucial public office that must be managed with all sense of professionalism.
Outside Nigeria, authorities in Germany are investigating last week's attack on the former Deputy President of the Senate, Ekweremadu, in Nuremberg. Channels Television gathered that about 5 persons suspected to have taken part in the attack have been identified, although no names and no arrests have been announced. Detective Chief Superintendent Robert Sandman told journalists that the German Police State Security Department, in charge of politically motivated crimes, has taken charge of the investigation alongside the public prosecutor for the area, adding that both entities are in touch with the Nigerian embassy. A video of the senator's attack went viral on social media on August the 17th. It showed people said to be members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra attacking the senator, who managed to escape from being lynched. Senator Ekweremadu was in Nuremberg for the New Yam Festival as a speaker and special guest of honor at the event organized by Igbo's residents there. The incident attracted condemnation from the government of Nigeria, the Igbo Social-Cultural Group, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, as well as prominent Nigerians. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has once again warned against the use of force to clamp down on citizens, especially when they are exercising their fundamental human rights. Professor Soyinka said government institutions should respect the rights of Nigerians who wish to deploy demonstrative means to question government's policies and programs. The Nobel laureate, who spoke at an event organized in Lagos as part of activities marking his 85th birthday, said the recent attempt by security operatives to shut down the venue of a pro-democracy gathering in Lagos was a display of intolerance by the government.
One of the beauties of existence is the ability to express oneself. It's a fundamental human right which we cannot compromise. And it's important to send this strong message to this government and to the security services to stop trying to muzzle people when they come together to exchange ideas. You're reducing them as human beings, and you're also reducing yourselves as human beings because it means that you are afraid. You're afraid to listen. And those who are afraid to listen usually are guilty people. That's why they do not want to listen. And so once again, I wish to use this opportunity, which is an occasion of culture, of intellection, of creativity, to re-emphasize the fact, this simple truth, that creativity takes place in an atmosphere of absolute freedom. And the reduction of the freedom of any one of us, however small, however minor, however quote-unquote unimportant, the reduction of the rights to expression of any one of us is an infringement and assault on the right of all of us, whether we're part of that particular exercise or not.
The indefinite strike embarked upon by resident doctors at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba, Lagos State, has entered its 4th week, and this may linger longer than expected, as the aggrieved doctors say they are yet to get a commitment from the hospital management over the shortage of resident doctors in the institution. But the hospital management disputes this claim, saying that it's trying to work things out.
The usual silence at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba, Lagos. But all is not well here. Resident doctors have downed tools since July 31st. The doctors are complaining of shortage of manpower, which has resulted in the increase of workload on them. Several meetings between the striking doctors and the management of the hospital in the past ended in a stalemate.
Presently, for doctors under the employ of the hospital on ground, resident doctors, we have 33. And then we have 4 that are called supernumeraries, meaning they came in from other institutions and are seconded here. So that can make it 37. And then the consultants Well, they're more than that number. They're more than 20. But it is now in relation to the workload. Over the course of 3+ weeks now, we've had some meetings, we've had some negotiations. It ended in a stalemate. However, cooler and calmer heads have prevailed, and negotiations have begun again. They've restarted, so to speak. So hopefully, within the nearest possible future, we should be having an end to the strike.
For the Assistant Director of Administration and Public Relations Officer, the management of the hospital has been doing its best to resolve the issue.
You see, the process of recruitment, it doesn't come just like that. It takes stages. It takes stages. And you know, even there's embargo on employment. I think you are aware. There's embargo on employment. So what we're actually looking for now is just to give us a waiver so that we can employ.
Channels Television was not allowed access to get the reaction of patients on the effects of the strike. The management says there hasn't been any complaints.
The patients have not complained to us anyway, because you know we run clinics, so they have specific days they come, and they have number of patients that come on a particular day. So far the consultants have been coping.
If you have more in terms of quality and quantity, the resultant healthcare delivery will be better for the patients. So it's not just only about us, but also about the patients, so that there's reduced waiting time, there's better quality of care being given to them. Also, it also helps the efficiency and the effectiveness of the system. So it's hurtful that this has to occur, but ultimately it's for everyone to have the best outcome possible, yes.
For now, consultants and nurses, as well as other secondary caregivers, have been attending to the patients while the strike continues. The sooner the doctor's grievance is resolved, the better for all.
The federal government says it will build affordable houses for low and middle income earners across the country. During an inspection of government housing estate in Zuba on the outskirts of the nation's capital, the Minister of State for Works and Housing, Mr. Abubakar Aliu, explains that the target is to cut the 20 million housing deficit in the country by 2033. According to the minister, government is hoping to build 1 million housing units annually to reach this target.
You just had them, it's at 75% completion, and I've gone around, I've seen all the units. This project was started, actually it was approved in 2017, and this is the pilot, and we hope to replicate them in other places, starting from, I think, 2 sites in Abuja here, apart from this one. Then we'll look at ways to replicate them in other states of the Federation. If you see the design, okay, the concept, it is actually targeted for the low income and the medium income earners. You see, the problem is associated with the large deficit we have in the housing in Nigeria. That's ownership. Our ownership rate is very, very low as compared to other countries. Now the production is very low, at least around 100,000 in the formal sector, 100,000 houses per year. We hope to improve it to like 1 million houses per year, so as to close the gap of 17-20 million deficit by the year 2033. That's the target of the government.
When the news at 10 returns, central bank sets lending limits for banks and other financial institutions to reduce their risk to exposure. That's on Business News. Join us again.